Make sure you tune into a special Easter Twin Tier Sunday. We're going to be talking about the Corning Glassfest, a vibrant event that's coming in just a month now. Tune in.
You're watching Twin Tier Sunday with Jennifer Sheahen.
Welcome to Twin Tier Sunday. I'm your host, Jennifer Sheahen. I hope everyone is having a wonderful Easter day. And Easter usually is a kickoff to the warmer months, full of vibrant outdoor activities and, of course, festivals. One festival in particular pulls deep from the roots in Corning, making for a weekend full of fire, color, and, of course, glass. Let's take a look back at last year's Corning Glassfest.
Every movement the gaffer makes, every breath of his own he puts into the molten glass, becomes a fragile piece of art. For a gaffer, the delicate process is worth every moment.
That handwork tradition is the history of Corning. It's what everything is tied to in this community.
Here at the Corning Museum of Glass, people from around the world learn about why glass is so important, but most particularly here in the Crystal City.
Would everybody like to see Chris make something larger today? I was hoping you would say that.
Glass is something that's very mysterious to people. It's not something that we work with every day in a molten state, and it's a real privilege for us to bring that to life for our visitors.
And although the art of glass blowing may be dying, you'd be surprised to find out that glass making is more prevalent than ever.
But there are probably more people working in glass today than there have been in the last 60 years in the United States. People appreciate the value of something made by hand, the value of something made with care. And fortunately, there's still enough people that appreciate that there's still a lot of glass makers working in glass today and learning this craft.
While Eric makes his masterpieces, I asked him to give some advice to our younger generation, who might watch him in awe and say, "Mom, I want to do that one day."
I would say go for it. It's like anything else in life. If you're passionate about it, if it's what you truly love and care about, you'll find a way to do it.
All right, so you just took a look back at last year's Glassfest and all the exciting things that happened. Now we're going to be touching on kind of the history of why glass is so important. And Colleen Fabrizi joins us, and Mike Wayne. Why don't you guys tell me a little bit about the history of glass in Corning?
Well, as you know, Corning Incorporated has been the founding industry in Corning for a very long time. Founding as in where glass started is our history in Corning. And several years ago, 6 years ago it was, Rob Cassetti from the Museum of Glass said, "Is there any way we can do a festival around this?" And at the time, our arts festival had been diminishing in its popularity for quite some time. So we seized the moment. And now Glassfest is all about celebrating not just our history, but our present and the future of glass in Corning and in the world.
That's wonderful. Now, what kind of made it your idea come to fruition? What was the kind of the triggering moment that was like, you know what, we need to start planning, and this is how we're going to do it?
Well, actually the trigger was the Glass Art Society, which came to Corning. It was sponsored by the Museum of Glass. It's an international society of glass artists. And the entire community embraced this conference for the week that it was in town, and they did a fantastic job. Once we did that, we already knew we could do events in the Gaffer District. It's who we are. Yeah. But when you get the entire community behind something this powerful and it ends up being a roaring success, and that's because the people who attended it said it was fantastic. We knew we can make this happen, let's do it. Those partnerships continue. Thank you to Schmunk Nail Trust Company.
At what point did you guys get in touch with, the Schmunk Nail Trust?
Well, I don't know. I guess it was probably about 7 or 8 months before May that year, and Colleen and I sat down with others, and she threw this idea out, and we could tell immediately that it had staying power. We were just losing a very valuable friend in the LPGA that had been here for more than 30 years, and we really wanted to help create another wonderful family event, and downtown Corning was a great place to do it.
No, that's wonderful. Now, what were some of the first steps that you were taking and kind of said, you know, this is the activities that we want to incorporate into the Glassfest?
Well, the Gaffer District had some great ideas. The one idea that we helped to try and encourage was we really wanted it to be for people of all ages, moms and dads pushing strollers, grandparents with little kids, and we really wanted to try and gather as much support as possible so that we could do this with as little money possible for people to have to pay out of their pockets. So we really tried to come up with a, you know, for all intents and purposes, a free community event. And we're there and have been there since day one.
No, that's great. Now, for some of our viewers that haven't been to Corning, what are the highlights, you know, what if they just come on a regular day where they can see glass and glass making or artists or things like that?
Other than Glassfest, you mean?
Yeah.
At the Museum of Glass, absolutely. And then downtown, we also have Vitrix. They're firing and making glass all day long. So besides just going to the museum, there is something to be seen throughout the community. And Hands on Glass is another place where you can make your own glass.
Now, have you ever made glass before?
Not yet.
Not yet. How about you, Mike?
Now,
Have you
I
made
got to
glass
cut
yet?
the glass ribbon, but I've never made it. I have never made
He's
it.
ahead of me.
Wonderful. All right, so we just learned a little bit about the history of Glassfest. Now, when we come back after the break, we're going to talk about all the exciting things coming this year and what you can expect. We'll see you then.
Twin Tiers Sunday will return in a moment.
Welcome back. Now we're going to learn about what is exciting coming this year to the Glassfest. We still have Colleen and Mike with us. Why don't we talk about big things coming this year?
Lead us off.
All right. Well, every year that we've had Glassfest, one of the most exciting components of it is the glass ribbon cutting that happens at 2300 degrees on Thursday night. It's open to the public. Mike, as he said, has been snipping the glass for a couple of years now. It's really exciting. There's a lot of energy, and it doesn't matter if you've been to every Glassfest since day one or it's your first Glassfest. People really get excited, and they're proud to be there when the weekend kicks off.
Now, what is 2300 degrees?
Well, 2300 Degrees is a event sponsored by the Corning Museum of Glass. I'm going to suggest they have it 9 or 10 times a year, and that's what we use to help kick things off. They have bands, they have some free food, but then there's food that you can purchase and wine from local wineries that you could have while you're milling around and looking at some of the beautiful exhibits in the museum and watching the glass ribbon cutting event as well.
Now, how big is this glass ribbon? Is it huge? Or
It's
small?
6 feet long or
And
so.
how do you cut it?
We cut it with a pair of hedge trimmers.
Really?
Actually, and you have to be. They've given us very good instructions, and you really do have to be very, very careful.
Oh.
I'm happy to say, after 5 years, no one has gotten hurt, which is a big thing.
It's a big
Exactly.
accomplishment.
That's exactly right.
What is the hot glass show?
We have the Hot Glass Show that starts on Friday and goes throughout the entire weekend in Centerway Square. And it's one spectacular creation right after another. The best part is usually the glass artists will hand out raffle tickets, and throughout the day, each day, they'll draw, and anyone in the crowd that has the matching number gets one of the beautiful glass creations.
Oh my gosh.
People go crazy for it.
That is wonderful. Now, are the people making glass, are they local artists or are they from around the country?
Yes, they're from the Museum of Glass.
Oh, okay.
And they do travel all over the world.
Wow.
They have glass artists on the cruise ships and so forth. But it is just wonderful to watch them and some of the creations that they make. I mean, oh my Lord, just beautiful.
What they can do in 20 minutes or so is just mind-boggling. And what's kind of neat is the weather is always great for Glassfest, so you can sit in Centerway Square with an ice cream cone or maybe a slice of pizza or a hot dog and watch them create, and they narrate the whole thing to you. Wow. And I have to tell you, every time I watch them, I try to guess, because they don't usually tell you exactly what they're making until the very end. And 9 times out of 10, I can never quite get it until the very end as to what they've produced. And Colleen is right. The results of their efforts is just beautiful.
How long does it take to make a piece of art then? Are they somebody going to be sitting there for 20 minutes, or is it like an hour and a half?
No, they can do it in 15 to 20 minutes. Now, obviously, it depends on what they want to make, but usually they're making some kind of a bowl or kind of a candy dish or a candlestick, things like that they can do in a compressed period of time. They'll do it in colors, and they'll explain how they created the color that you're looking at. And it's a three-person show. They're working really hard. One person's narrating, and the other two gaffers are actually working hard away creating something. And everybody from the littlest kid in a stroller to great-grandparents are sitting there just having a ball.
That's great. Now, it's not just about the glass. There's also like a massive amount of vendors that come in for this as well and line the street of market. Tell me a little bit about who's coming this year or what people can expect.
Well, the street closes down on Saturday and Sunday, all day, both days. And we have everything from fire artists, which would be both glass artists, metal artists, and ceramic artists, to the fine arts. Every single one of them have the most beautiful selection of wares that they sell throughout the weekend. We also have live demonstrations that happen throughout the weekend. Again, I think it goes back to what we have going on in the square. No matter where you go throughout the entire 4 days, you're going to be entertained. And the majority of it, thank you very much to sponsors like Sheahen Canal and others, is free. You're going to have to pay for the wine and beer tasting, but still, that's $15. And you get 2 glasses.
Great. Now there's also like food there too.
Yes.
Some of the vendors that are coming in, jewelry making, I believe I saw last year as well, and a lot of wine tasting. And do you have any specific big wineries that are coming? Do you know?
Well, all of our usual Finger Lakes wineries show up. They're very, very supportive of our wine tasting events, and I believe that's because the history has shown they always end up coming out to the wineries and buying what they've tasted.
Yeah.
So it really does have a good return on investment for them. We even have people who have come to Glassfest who didn't realize we were just on the edge of wine country.
Yeah.
So we don't just capture them for the weekend. They keep coming back. This becomes a place that's a part of their traditions. And to me, that's one of the best pieces of Glassfest. It's now a tradition for people.
That's wonderful.
Well, and in addition to the food vendors on the street, you got to remember there are multiple wonderful restaurants to be able to go in, sit down, maybe have a little more full meal, whether that's lunch or dinner. And you really want to go and go early because it's sometimes it's tough to get a seat inside some of the restaurants on Friday and Saturday night at Glassfest.
But they also too, it seems like they bring their businesses outdoors as well. I know the Cellar last year had a little booth set up that I went to, and you could try a different array of things from that restaurant, and kind of really incorporating the business side as well, so people come back towards the businesses. What do you kind of do throughout the year in order to get businesses into the festival?
Well, it's actually pretty easy. Once we put the participation form up for our businesses within the district, they're immediately signing up. It's a wonderful weekend for them. It's a great way to start off the summer shopping season. And it's also a great way for our regional guests. You know, just because you live within 25 miles of Corning doesn't mean that you can't come and act like you're on vacation. It's a good time, and our businesses really appreciate Glassfest and the opportunity to be a part of the wonderful weekend that it is.
Well, and Colleen won't say it, but I certainly can. A lot of that has to do because the Gaffer District runs unbelievably great events. The attention to detail, they start things out wide, they finish very tightly, and they keep all of the merchants up and down the street and throughout the whole Gaffer District very involved. They communicate with them on a regular basis, and so the businesses appreciate the fact that it's done at a very high level.
No, that's great. And it's
Thanks, Mike.
Oh, look at a little moment there. Now go ahead and tell me a little bit. There's also some big concerts coming as well.
Oh, yes.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Friday night we have Sandlot coming, and I'm still getting acquainted with some of the music that they have. I'm not quite up with the latest entertainers.
Oh.
Bon Jovi, Rick Springfield, CeeLo Green,
Yeah.
Usher, You know about these things, I assume.
I know
This is
about
good.
them a little bit.
Ask Jennifer, she knows. And then Saturday night, the Don't Stop Believin' tribute band to Journey. And they have rocked it out of the park for a couple of years now. You know, and after the second year, we thought, well, we won't have them come back. We did a little teaser. Whoa, okay, they're coming back. People were very upset that they weren't going to have their Journey night at Glassfest. So they'll be back with us this year.
Now, is it free for people to go see this, or do they have to pay to go see these concerts?
Completely free.
Oh, really?
Right out in Centennial Park, just pull up a chair or bring a blanket and have a ball.
Now, is it crowded? How many people show up to this?
Thousands.
Oh yeah, it's
But
full.
it's not uncomfortable. It's a really happy crowd. There's no crowding or jamming. There are people there, as Mike said, with strollers. Their whole family comes. And then there are couples just enjoying a romantic night with a few thousand of their neighbors and friends.
And always for romance, some fireworks too. Like
Yes, we have another big surprise for Friday night because after all, it is Glassfest 5. And that's all I'm going to tell you.
Oh,
You just
come
want-
on!
No, sorry. You
hold
just
back on
really
us
want
here.
to be in the park on Friday night.
Oh, no.
And then Saturday night, after the Journey Band, the fireworks. And we're still getting comments from people that the fireworks the best they've seen in the area.
That's
so
incredible. And it's a beautiful thing too, because, you know, Mike, you were explaining to me that this is also about preserving like the history of glass, but also getting the youth involved in it too, because it's a dying art. And why don't you explain to me, or kind of re-explain, I guess, because we talked about it before the show, why it's so important to get the youth involved in this again?
Well, I mean, the history of the glass blowers and gaffers through Corning Incorporated and Stubenware and all of that is just phenomenal. And I've learned so much since we became involved with this 4.5 years ago. But the talents of these men and women has really just been phenomenal. And to see what they've done and how hard they've worked and how much attention that's brought to our little corner of the world is really pretty impressive. And what we've really enjoyed is the opportunity to ask many of them to come back and share their stories about what it was like to blow glass in the early years. And that's really, really neat. And I think it's our way to be able to thank them for getting us to this point in time.
That's wonderful. All right. Thank you very much. You're going to want to stay tuned after the break. We're going to find out how you can get involved with Glassfest and a few other little surprises that are coming before and after as well.
Twin Tier Sunday will return in a moment.
Welcome back. So we learned a little bit about the exciting things that are coming to this year's Glassfest, but we also know that there are other things going on before and after. Why don't we start with the 8K Glassfest? What is that?
yes, we partner with Wine Glass Marathon, who runs that little race in the fall.
A little bit.
A little bit. And they do a spectacular job putting on an 8K race on Saturday morning, and we already have registrants coming in for that. It's a race that everybody loves. The Gorilla Glass group has sponsored it for the past few years. People love that because they love to get their Gorilla Glass t-shirts.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then we also have, let me think, what's the timing on it? We have the Arts Fair all day on Saturday and Sunday, but while that is happening, we also have a ton of children's activities throughout the weekend. We have the train running in the park, which all the kids love. We also have a variety of artists throughout the day that are doing entertainment, anywhere from a live band and chicken barbecue down at the Radisson on Saturday afternoon, I believe that is. So there's just so much, it's almost impossible to remember it all.
And with the kids, you know, we've got face painting and we've got musicians and we've got a clown and inflatables. The Rockwell Museum is open for people to go in. You can go up to 171 Cedar Arts. So I mean, there really is a little bit of everything for everyone to do. It's just a matter of actually trying to find enough hours in the day.
No, that's great. That's
Absolutely
always
right.
a good thing,
That's
right?
exactly right.
And talking about the history again, oral history project. This is something I was kind of going through, doing a little research. I saw on your website for Glassfest. Why don't you tell me a little bit about what that is, what that event is, and why it's so important to the area?
Well, again, it goes back to the history of glass in Corning. It's a program that is actually presented by the Raycow Library, and they have put a lot of effort into trying to capture as many stories as they possibly can from people that have the history of glass in our community. You know, you can read about the history of glass and the chronology of it, but when you have someone that was a gaffer, you know, going back 40, 50 years, and they're telling you what it used to be like, someone that used to stand in the top of Little Joe Tower and draw glass, it's just so amazing. And they sit there with tears in their eyes because they're reliving those memories and so proud to be a part of it. And we are just elated that that can be a part of Glassfest. Without that, there'd be no Glassfest. And I think Corning would be a very different place than it is.
I don't know if you'll be able to do this, but last year, was there any particular, oral, given that was remember, that made you memorable, that you remember?
Well, I was all over, to be honest with you, throughout the weekend, so I can't give you an exact story, but it's something that we could definitely share. I'd be happy to send you some information, and if you want to do a future segment.
You see, we're going to have a whole segment on it.
We can help you out.
Now, the Puppenmeister?
Yes.
What is that?
I got to yield to Colleen on that.
Puppenmeister is a group that Lynn Kutlinski, our director of events, and I'll tell you, if it wasn't for Lynn and Joanne Hawkins, again, it'd be a very different Glassfest. They are the superheroes of pulling all of this together, and we're all smart enough to just follow along and do what they tell us during that weekend. Mike's in charge of weather that weekend. He knows that.
I usually take credit afterwards.
But Puppenmeister is an opportunity for parents to bring their kids, and they have everything from face painting to games, all kinds of fun stuff. And it's located down in Block 4, which is where Imagine That, the toy shop is, where most people want to be anyhow. So again, it's just a great variety of fun things for kids to do.
No, that's great. Now, if people want to get involved, is there ways to volunteer or anything like that?
Absolutely. You can go to the Glassfest website, and there's information on how to volunteer. And if you're someone that doesn't happen to like computers, the Information Center in Corning also has paper copies for people to fill out, or come to our office at 114 Pine Street in Corning.
And what would people be doing if they do volunteer?
It's everything from giving a vendor a moment to take care of some personal needs and stand by their booth, to just helping check in the vendors when they show up on Saturday morning and Sunday morning. There's all kinds of stuff that people can do, but none of it is strenuous, and we try to never go over a 2-hour assignment.
Oh, great.
And they get a cool shirt.
Anything else that you guys like to add about the event or anything at all?
Well, I just like to take an opportunity to thank all of the organizations that help support Glassfest. I mean, the bank is very pleased and proud to be the presenting sponsor, but there are so many others, and CMOG and Simmons Rockwell, and the museums, and Imagine That, the Radisson, lots of others. I mean, I could go up and down Market Street by memory and probably miss somebody. Corning Enterprises, Corning Incorporated. But this is really a community effort, and so many people are involved, and that's what's made it so great over the past 4 years, and will make Glassfest 5 even that much better.
That's wonderful. I am excited to attend, and I'm excited to see all the wonderful things coming our way as well. So thank you for joining me on this Easter Sunday it is. So. All right. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for joining us today, and stay tuned to see what's coming this week.